the air. The clouds are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom, but don't see their dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires of their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires of their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The clouds are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The clouds are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The clouds are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air.
Our reading today is taken from the Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. The eternal now. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. When will I find God? Many devotees have asked this question. Because worldly goals require time, usually for their fulfillment, we imagine time to be a factor on the spiritual path. And so it is, but only because we think it is. God is as much with us now as he ever will be. It is not he who needs to come to us, we need to come to him. And that process of coming is a matter of transforming our self-perception. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 4, Jesus Christ says, Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. There's a practical teaching in these words, apart from their statement that we have God already and have only to realize that truth. Jesus is saying, lift up your eyes and look. To hold the eyes uplifted is the best position for meditation, for the seat of superconsciousness lies at a point midway between the eyebrows, in the frontal lobe of the brain just behind that point. This point is known also as the Christ center. By lifting up your eyes and concentrating there, you will find it easier to enter this state of ecstasy. That is why saints in every religion have often been observed during states of deep inner communion, with their eyes uplifted, focused on the inner light, white, as Jesus said, already to harvest. The Bhagavad Gita goes further into this meditative teaching. In the 6th chapter it states, holding the spine firm, the neck and head erect and motionless, let the yogi focus his eyes at the starting place of the nose, the point between the eyebrows. Let not his gaze roam elsewhere. In meditation, tell yourself, I have him already. I am alive forever in the divine light. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
How is everyone? Okay. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. There's an awful lot of gender conversation in our culture and in this time. And it's not inappropriate. It's people are sorting for how to relate to how they incarnated in this life and trying to sort for the different aspects of their nature. But when we talk as yogis, when we talk about larger issues than just our own self-identity, when we talk our own current self-identity, we start to talk about the cosmic forces, the way creation is made. Everything is dual. Everything in creation has got opposite qualities. It's just how it's made. Everything all of creation is made from stillness moving and creating waves. And so there is a father aspect and a mother aspect. Those are words that are given to universal qualities. Yogananda said that the aspect of God beyond creation, the aspect of God that is impersonal, that is driven by law, driven by order, that has that more distant quality of impersonal love. These are all qualities that he dubbed the qualities of God the Father. And if you look at the male principle, you see that men tend to be more impersonal. And again, the male principle tends to be more impersonal. The masculine quality tends to be more personal. It's more protective in the sense of holding space, creating environment, often isn't very involved in the immediate moments. When it comes time to sort for discipline, for behavior, for order, it tends to be strict and linear. The quality that is feminine, the quality that is the balancing quality, if you will, he called the Divine Mother, he said, is represented by nature. And it's represented by the feminine, and it tends to be more inward, it tends to be more nesting, it tends to be more concerned with the immediate. When it comes to discipline, it's always more supportive and uplifting and forgiving. And these two qualities combined bring us into the presence of Spirit, the wholeness of Spirit. And each one of us individually, we come with a mix of different qualities inside that are trying to play themselves out, because we incarnate, every soul incarnates in this world to discover where happiness comes from. Does it come from being in tune with these masculine or male qualities? Does it come from being in tune with these feminine qualities? But the yogis say, the masters say, that real growth comes from getting past self-identity of any form. Not identifying ourselves as men or women, male or female, but beginning to tune into these universal qualities and allowing them to express through us and be experienced in us appropriately. Because we are, when the day is done, at the end of endless incarnations of seeking joy, seeking wholeness, seeking truth, we discover that it's always been in there, and that it's a blend of these qualities, and that they are, in fact, fully available to be represented through us at any given time, and to be experienced by us at any given time. And the love of the mother has to be balanced by the discipline of the father. And the discipline of the father, the impersonality of the father, has to be balanced by the warmth and personal love and connection of the motherly qualities. So today we're celebrating the male aspect of God in the Heavenly Father and in Father's Day. And you see it in the warrior spirit. I read a book just recently, just finished it. It's interesting that one of the pathways that every soul goes through, one of the awakening stages, is the stage of being a warrior. The first stage is the stage of being a peasant. Basically, we learn our lessons through physical involvement and menial labor and stuff. And every soul has to go through learning primary lessons through that. But then we gradually evolve. It's kind of very closed awareness, and it's all self-involved. And we gradually start to expand our awareness, and then we start to be involved in a larger reality, like our family. And we start to move more energy, and we but it's still got a lot of self-interest. So what's in it for me? What's in it for my family? Kind of the second stage, the epitome of the second stage might be, it's the merchant stage, the negotiator. What's in it for me? Might be the Godfather. You know, it's still about me, but it's about me and my family. You know, and if you're part of the family, you get protected, you get taken care of. But if you're not, but gradually we start to understand that, you know, the next stage is the stage of the warrior, where we start to realize that personal self-interest expands, and we start to discover that when our children are unhappy, we're more unhappy. When our children are happy, we're happier. When our spouse, when our friends, and pretty soon our family starts to expand until it includes our village, our city, our state, our country. And we start to discover increasingly, this book I read is about the father of actually one of our Sangha members, and he was a 4-star general. He was the voice of the Marines and the voice of the war, the military voice of the war to the media during the Gulf War and stuff. And he just talks about what it's like to be a warrior. He cut his teeth in the Vietnam War. He was one of 7 in one particular battle. He was one of 7 officers in a group of 100 that were surrounded by 700 Viet Cong and North Vietnamese soldiers in a desperate fight for wholeness and for survival. And of the 7 officers, 4 of them were killed in this several-hour battle. And at one point, everybody in the whole platoon, everybody who was left, turned to him. Because all of a sudden, he was just an officer in this corps. I'm not using the right words for the group, but whatever size group this is. He was just one of the officers, and all of a sudden he was kind of the last officer standing. And everybody looked at him and said, "What now, Lieutenant?" You know? And he realized that the well-being of everybody involved here depended on his judgment, his actions, his wisdom. And he talks about his life being a series of what now, Lieutenant, what now moments, what do I do now? And he talks about having held himself across a lifetime in the face of life and death situations and offering himself first, offering his own life, his own well-being, his own self-interest, his own, concern for family and stuff, that there was always a larger reality that he was trying to offer himself into. And the dignity and the power and the freedom that was given from that. And then the fourth stage of our growth. And so this is a nod to fathers, because this is also something that fathers hold. Fathers hold protectiveness. They protect the family, they protect the child, they hold space. The fourth phase is you start to wonder, you've gone from just what's in it for me to what's in it for me and my family to the self-interest, the care, the protection of the nation even. But then where's the barrier? Where is that place that draws a line between this person and that person, this culture and that culture? These soldiers, a beautiful story. I don't know why I'm wandering down this road, except it's such a touching topic. There's a beautiful story of World War I. Many of you have heard it, but it's the fourth stage. It's where we go from there. It was Christmas time, and it was the Germans and the British in the trenches 100 yards apart. They'd been stuck for months and months in just hellish conditions, and occasionally somebody would come by and drop mustard gas in the trenches and wipe out a bunch, and it was just the worst possible conditions. But Christmas Eve had arrived. It was a bitter, bitter winter night, and there was this kind of hush in the firing. And all of a sudden, I think it was the German side, somebody on the German side, I was getting a little touched when I think of this and talk about it. Somebody on the German side raised their voice in song, a Christmas song. And others in the German line picked it up, and they sang this beautiful Christmas carol. And at the end of it, in the stillness of the cold and freezing winter night, it just resounded just this deep silence. And the British sang the Christmas carol back. And back and forth the music went, until finally there was such a sense of deep peace and stillness and presence of spirit that somebody actually popped up a soccer ball into the field. And popped up, and I don't know if it was the British or the Germans, and they jumped up and they started kicking the ball around. And then somebody from the other side jumped up and started kicking it with them, and before long, the trenches had emptied out. And there was this great celebration of life and friendship in the presence of spirit, in the presence of goodness, in the presence of the fact that we are all connected. We all are of one ilk, and that's the fourth stage where we discover what's to protect against except ignorance. It's not about them and us, it's about ignorance versus not. We're in a time of great trial on this planet. Yogananda brought what Swami deemed hope for a better world. He brought hope for a better world. And in the teachings of meditation, the teachings of yoga, these things were in small little pockets in India prior to Yogananda coming. But he came, he was a part of a movement, a New Age movement where deep, powerful spiritual truths were coming from the East to spread through the West and to awaken in the West this deep understanding of spirit. And it was original Christianity. It's not like they created anything new. These are eternal truths that are forgotten during dark times. They're forgotten. Even in our own lives, we forget these eternal truths that are always there in the contraction of our own hearts, in the contraction of our own lives. We get petty and we forget that joy is always there, that love is there, that we are all connected. And we judge each other and we condemn each other and we muscle each other around and we try and get rid of each other. To no avail. Because the issue isn't out there, the issue is in our own heart. There's a movement now that Anand has become a global movement for this hope for a better world. And it's in raising consciousness. And that's why we played Samadhi. That's why we chanted long, from joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. I am Om. Omnipresent I am Om. All-pervading. I am Om. You are the eternal. And that's the message of all spiritual teachers who are true, is to remind each one of us that we are now and always have been connected with Spirit. And that in that remembrance, not intellectual remembrance, but in that experience, everything changes and we stop being able to do the divisive things. We stop being careless with nature and careless with each other and critical and harsh and combative and negative and selfish. But it only comes not from, you can't go out and get it externally. There's a cute, once movement, I was going to read, I'd love to take, anybody object to this? Can we take and turn today's service into a 4-week class? Can we just hang out together for the next 4 weeks and sort for this? Because there's so much in this topic that's so precious. This is the core of everything meaningful in life. There's a movement. This is why restless music is so unsatisfying and so unhelpful. Because it's in movement that all of creation starts, and all of the divisiveness, all of the movement and polar opposites show up. They're resolved in stillness, be still and know, the Bible says. And they show up in movement. And in movement is all the dualities. And we keep looking here and there for the answers that only come in stillness. There's a really cute cartoon I saw recently in the paper, and it's got 3 lines at a psychic fair, at a New Age fair. And it's got one line is past life regressions, and then a big line of people. And the other, it's Vedic astrology, look to the future, and there's a big line of people. And right in the middle, it's meditation, there's one person standing there. But it's in the moment that everything resolves itself. It's in this condition. I want to read just briefly from this beautiful treatise. It's the promise of immortality. And it is filled with this particular reading, this particular chapter, is filled with so much clarity. We've been discussing for these last weeks the spiritual path, how to move forward on it, how to avoid slipping back, and how to regain lost ground if one does slip back. It is not only theoretically interesting, but of immense importance to realize that no path actually exists except in our own perception. As long as here and now relate to there and then, they are unfixed and temporary. Space and time are mists sectioned off by mind-made beginnings and endings. Beyond them, so Yogananda said, lies endlessness. The illusion of space and time is produced by movements of thought in divine consciousness. It is by movement or vibration that cosmic creation is manifested. Without movement, absolute consciousness alone would remain. By the way, the qualities of absolute consciousness are joy, our love, our peace and calmness, our wisdom and power, light and sound. Those are the qualities that remain in absolute consciousness. Those are the things we seek, and we keep seeking them outward where they cannot be found except reflected. Movement actually produces, now this is, I will stop in a few moments, but this is so sweet. Movement actually produces the space within which it vibrates. Without movement, the relativities of past, present, and future could not exist. The universe itself is finite in time and space. Modern physics, in fact, declares it so. What scientists have not addressed is the further phenomenon that the universe is as large and as long-lasting as consciousness makes it. That is how scientists can state that outside the universe literally nothing exists. To which fact the yogi might add a whimsical paradox. There is nothing there for it to not exist in. These are relevant, especially today, because it helps us remember that wholeness is found inside, that if we want to bring peace to this world, we first must awaken it inside ourselves, and then it will radiate through us and uplift others and remind them of the peace of their own nature. If we want to change this world, if we want to improve what's happening, we have to become channels for that other thing. We can't stand on the sidelines and bellyache and protest. Nayaswamis Jyotish and Daiva are coming in approximately 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. They are the emissaries for this path. Swami Kriyananda took on the mantle of Yogananda when Yogananda passed and became a primary emissary of this consciousness into the world. And thus, Ananda was created and spread around the globe. Awakening enthusiasm for truth and for a better world in hearts around the world in every culture. When he passed his mantle to Nayaswami Jyotish, and by extension, his partner, Nayaswami Daiva. And they carry this light. You feel it in their presence. You feel it wherever they go. They radiate these qualities and remind us of what's true. If not through us, if not from God, where are the answers that this world so desperately needs? And from God, and not through us, then from who? Let's feel inside a deeper commitment to raising our consciousness through meditation, through kindness and friendship, through stillness, through love. And in that we start to awaken to the fact that joy is there's a cute little story about a Christian minister who ran into one of his congregation, and he said, "How are you doing?" And she said, "I'm fine under the circumstances." And he said, "What is a Christian doing under the circumstances? What is a yogi doing under the circumstances? Joy is our lot. Let's commit to living in joy. Love is our reality. Let's commit to living in love. Peace of mind, wisdom, calmness, and divine power. Let's let them fill us through our stillness and radiate them into this world. And in that we fulfill the hope for a better world." Let's take a moment of silence.